In this video, I will show you how to read and understand the Excel import template that we provide when creating new companies and you want to import master data. It could be template like customers, items, vendors, etc. We had quite a few templates that you can use. And to understand how to fill them in correctly so the error handling will be minimal, I will show you here how the template could be understood. And I will show that from the customer template and the item template. So first of all, I will go through the worksheets in this template. So we have the columns that equals the fields that we want to import: number, name, name to, search name, etc. So these are all the fields that the templates are default set up with. Don't change these columns because they are matched into the master data import worksheet with the default templates that we set up. So if you leave the columns like this, they will fit to the import directly. Those columns has some codings that I will get back to understand what the colors and the gray and the bolts are doing here. And on the first worksheet we also have some example, and you will just delete those lines with all the examples when starting to import data here. The next sheet is an explanation on how to read this template, and I'll get back to that because that's the big key for understanding all of this. In the next column we have lookup values, and I'll get back to those as well to explain how those are working. And in the last worksheet we have the explanation of those lookup values that I will also get back to. Now let's look at the item template because we have more different fields there to explain with. Here is my item template, and I will start by explaining all the columns and all the logic that we have embedded in this formatting. And here's how it works. So on my how to use this template tab, I can see how to do. So first of all, make a copy of this Excel sheet. So you will always have this Excel sheet as your base to see what you're doing. After making a copy, you can start working with data. This is how the columns are formatted. So the red text implies that this is a field that you should fill in as a minimum. So if we look back on the import template for items, you should fill in as a minimum number, description, general product posting group out here, inventory product posting group, replenishment system, etc. All those red columns or red fields, that posting group, implies that those should be filled in. So this is the coding for red. Next thing is the bold columns or the bold headers. So this display, it's an option string, and you have to enter the English caption according to the option that we have specified. And those options are coming from Standard Business Central. So for instance, the costing method, which is a bold field, should be entered here as one of the options: standard, FIFO, average, etc. And those options can be seen in the lookup table sheet. So for instance here, if I'm looking at my costing methods, these 5 options written here is the actual options that you have, and you have to enter one of those, of course. Next is the fields with the gray backgrounds. This is data to be found in an underlying table before importing. And if we have entered data in the columns in the last 2 sheets, in the value sheet and explanation sheet, it is those who are found in our supply chain box default setup. So the standard company setup that you get from us will be with those lookup values. If there's no data entered in the field, it's because the table is empty and you must set it up yourself. So you must either correct your own data to match our default setup, or even add more data to the underlying table before you import. Let's look at some examples here. So if we look at the base unit of measure, it's gray, meaning it's applying or related to an underlying table. And if I look at my lookup table values, I can see all the base unit of measure here that comes with the standard setup. I can see here also that the item category code and the product group code has no value in the standard setup, meaning on my first sheet I can enter whatever here, but I have to put it into the underlying table before I can actually import data. And likewise on my general product posting group, I have some information here, and it's gray and it's red, meaning red that it should be filled in, and gray meaning that it's somewhere here in my general product posting group, and I can see that it comes with some default data that I can use, or I will have to add more data in the underlying table. The last option here is if it's italic. Italic columns implies that it's a date formula column, and you have to enter a date formula correctly in the English expression using DWM and month for day, week, month, or year. And we have an example here in one of our items. We scroll a little right. we can see here our lead time calculation field is italic, and the information here is 3W, meaning 3 weeks. So if I have entered here just 4 like this, it will provide an error when I try to import data. So it has to be entered in the correct way. The last thing we have here is if we have special information for this table that you could take into account, and on the item we don't. But if I go back to my customer, like here, and look at the same explanation here, of course, for the customer, you can note that in the customer table you can enter postcode, city and contact, although data is not found in the underlying table. This means that normally postcode and country region and contract relates to an underlying table, but it's not validated into Business Central, so you can enter in those fields anyway without filling in the underlying table. On the header you also have a number after each field, and it explains how long the field is in Business Central, meaning if you enter a name in more than 50 characters, you will get an error while importing data because it's only 50 characters. Likewise on all the other fields. You also have descriptions on some of the fields with a little red mark on it, meaning that there's special descriptions for the specific fields explaining what these fields actually do. Worksheet lookup values is displaying all the lookup values that you can enter. So if you're entering the column cash flow payment method code, these are all the values that we provide out of the box and the standard setup. And on the explanation of value, you can see what they refer to. So it could be difficult to understand what do we mean about BG as a country region or 10 days in the cash flow payment method code. So on the explanation tab, we have explained that even more. So in the example of the country region code that was BG or whatever it was, I can see here which name it actually has. So these are data from the underlying table. So in this way I can see my payment terms, CM plus 8D, meaning current month plus 8 days, etc. So this is just explanation on the lookup values. This is how the template works. So you will have to delete the lines in here and then enter all the information on the import template worksheet, the first worksheet, and from there you can import directly into the master data import worksheet.